All right. If you live in the North Florida area and you are on the I-10 corridor, anywhere between Lake City and Panama City Beach, all the way down to the Emerald Coast, we got you covered for high school football. This is another edition of the Extra Point. I'm Mark Adams. My tag team partners on deck with me, Coach Cofield and Andrew Jupe. Man, it's been I can't believe we're almost at the midweek, at the midpoint of the season. It's week number 5. Week number
Uh,
5, and I'm looking at the schedule, man. Man, we still got. I mean, I think we got 5 or 6 undefeated teams still rolling along. So this is going to be a great stretch of football. We're in the middle of district play. Unless you're in the lower classifications, then every game matters. I think we're in for a wild ride going into the latter part of the 2025 season.
well, once again in North Florida, Panama City area, it's exciting football once again. It's going to go down to the wire. Some of the teams that we expected to be in the running look like they're fading away a little bit. It's amazing some of the schools that that we think are the better teams in the area only got one win. So, I know you got 5 more games for most teams. What 6 more games, and hopefully some of these teams will pull off so we can have a whole bunch of teams in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like we just got going. Once late July comes around, and then you blink, and it's already Thanksgiving, gang. It seems every year, every year. I feel like we're just figuring these teams out. But yeah, it's been a little bit of an interesting ride. We see some patterns, like Coach was saying, playing through, but also a little trouble in the waters elsewhere. But the beauty of it is there's still time to take care of business. And also, nobody knows how the points work now that we've been doing it for about a decade, so it really doesn't matter. So we'll figure it out.
Juke with the jab. Hey, I understand. It's very frustrating to figure out how the system works. I really think we should go back to just. I do like the old classic system. District champion, district runner up, one at large. Shake it in the bag. Everything seems to come out fine. You get the teams in that you want to get in the playoffs. You get a wide range of parity. I like it. Unfortunately, we don't live in that system. We live in a world of complete chaos, and you may end up traveling almost 500, 600 miles plus for a second round playoff game. We never know. So this is the world we live in. I'm looking forward to it. That's why we play the regular season games. It's just it's funny when you think about it, but I can't think of a better way to really get into the regular season other than just looking forward to each week as it comes. Playoffs will be playoffs, and we'll get to that later on. But man, we got quite a few teams that are undefeated. We got some surprises. I do like the fact that we have some teams that are really lurking, even though they only have 1 or 2 wins on the season is still early. Even though we're just into the first part of what I think is just going to be a great October coming up on the horizon, but we still got a couple of weeks left in September. We're going to see what shakes out of it. Meanwhile, on the college football front, guys, I don't know if you saw the AP poll recently, but Knowles just crept up on everybody. Sitting in at number 7, Florida State. This is one of those where I look at it for what it is. Still got Miami coming up in a couple of weeks. You still got, I think there's a road trip to Virginia coming up. But FSU, man, this is better than what a lot of people hoped.
I think the Seminoles are put in a pretty good spot. You see the teams that usually are tough in that Clemson kind of fading. They're struggling. And then you see Georgia Tech, making some run. They played some pretty good ball. The ACC is exciting. And some of these teams at the top, they're on tradition. A lot of times they're on tradition. Because I won't call no names. I'll make somebody mad. Because this one team up there, they played couple of games, and I wasn't impressed. But they ranked real high, and you wonder what. I mean, just because of tradition, they're ranked real high. And I'm not talking about the number 1 team, Ohio State. But it is. You look at some of these games, some of these teams, and you wonder I mean, what are these guys looking at? I mean, they don't play. They play 2 or 3 games and they struggle in the games, and they get to be ranked high just because of where they started off. And I think that's a disadvantage of the polls. Fortunately, they have the playoff polls, which is different. They started later on in the year.
Yeah, and then they get married to those preseason polls. But you can have the preseason polls, but you got to throw that out the window once we start playing football games. Like,
Yeah.
but they stick to it. They use that as a baseline, but you know nothing about it when you have the preseason polls. I'm a little scared, obviously, as an FSU fan. I feel like they got them way too high up. They're ballooning it right now because I think they're trying to push the narrative for October 4th. Like you said, Mark, they want to have
Yeah.
a double top 5 matchup that they can sell on TV, right? But it's worrying me a little bit, especially how the blue and orange. I don't mean our in-town boys for the blue and orange. How those people down in South Florida looked last week. But speaking of blue and orange, on the other side, first win. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm gonna call it. I say that the AP poll is just some hot garbage. It is. It's all over the place. You got people voting that don't really watch the games. They almost man, they almost got this girl canceled because she was just kind of going off of her feelings. I think she just kind of phoned it in. I'm not sure if she was like, just rooting for the teams based on the colors. And I hate to make it, sound like that. And I don't think it has anything to do with gender because there were some guys that are seasoned veterans in the voting system. I don't think they watch it either. I really don't. And I can totally understand if you're on the East Coast, you're not staying up till 11 o'clock to watch USC play Hawaii. I get it. But at the same time, it's just been god awful how the voting has taken place. I do feel you, Juke. I do think FSU has me a little nervous being that high, although it is what it is. I was very impressed with Georgia's win over Tennessee. Tennessee really had it, and just kicker just missed it. Georgia at that point, I felt like it was theirs once Tennessee missed the kick because they just had so much momentum going into overtime, and that's what you expect from your top 10 teams. That's what you expect them to do. Miami looked legit the way they shut down USF, knocked them back out of the rankings. I think the most entertaining game last weekend was Georgia Tech knocking off Clemson. That was just amazing how he kicked. I mean, it still had some leg to it. I think he was at 55 or 60 yards, and it was still going up.
Yeah. I'll tell you the most interesting thing about this AP poll is Notre Dame hadn't won a game and they ranked in top 25. That is amazing.
That goes back to the.
That is amazing.
The issue.
Usually, if you lose 2 games, you lose 1. I can understand that, but 2, I mean, they can
theoretically, they are out of playoff contention, being a independent,
not being Notre Dame. They're not.
That's what Notre Dame actually has the largest fan base in the country.
Yep.
And that, say what you will, Jupe, I saw the dollar signs.
Yeah, I mean,
if Notre Dame decided to play in a dump somewhere, it'll be sold out. I mean, their fans show up every time I see the game with Notre Dame in. They don't have any problem packing the house because their fans follow them. They can play anywhere and get a sellout.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, Eddie Quinkers Jr. joining us. Better late than ever. But
what place he's in? He's in last place. You say he's in last place, Juke?
I gotta check it. I gotta double check. I think I'm in last place, Coach. Of course, going back to our picks for the
Coach
season.
Cofield's in first, but I just want Eddie to know that
He's been calling him. He's been calling himself King Cofield in the chat, gang. But he is getting over 81% of these picks right. So take it for what it's worth. He's plugged in. He's locked in. He's got it going on. Our three-time weekly champ getting after it.
Yeah.
All right, moving on some other college football news. We got Quinn Gray came back to his old stomping grounds and walked out with a very competitive L, I would say. They made the Rattlers sweat until a third quarter surge just kind of pushed FAMU ahead for good.
Embarrassing.
It was 14-3.
Yeah,
at one point. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, come on.
I think and you can't really ever tell, with us FAMUans, we have a certain way of taking that hot seat and pouring some gasoline on it. But I think Coach Cozy has, I mean, he's got a couple of big games still left on the schedule. I know Southern may not seem like much, but they're still a dangerous threat in the SWAC. Then you've got a really, really talented Alabama State team coming up soon. And then, of course, they have Jackson State. Fortunately, they get them in Bragg, but man, the schedule does not get easier for Coach Cozy. So if this was a litmus test, hopefully they'll be able to take that momentum and use it, because the SWAC schedule is going to be absolutely tough and very dangerous if the Rattlers want to be able to have a chance. It's still wide open because SWAC play really hasn't begun, but because of the way the league is still set up, one loss and you're pretty much out of it.
Well,
Yeah.
Mark, what surprises me, it looked like FAMU hadn't decided on a quarterback yet. They started off with one, and then to me, the guy that came in second, he let them to their first touchdown, and they took him out. I thought he was going to stay in, and then they put the other kid in the second half, and I'm thinking, whoa, they hadn't made a decision who they think is the person to lead this team. I was kind of surprised at the changing in quarterbacks.
I kept
Although
up with this game.
the sub that they put in came in and led a touchdown drive.
They took him out.
But overall, FAMU needed a win before they got ready to start conference play. I kept up with this game the entire time, and I'm glad they won. But I'm not glad that they struggled. Respectfully to Albany State, who they played, is a very competitive Division II HBCU opponent. And FAMU wasn't the only one. I'll also add this on a side note. Grambling State also had quite the scare in a game against, what was that other Division II HBCU they also played, and they had to win it in overtime. So they definitely got to fix some things. Is all I'm gonna say.
Eddie, you, I don't think you quite understand. They recruiting from the same pool.
Yeah,
They are recruiting the same kids.
I know they recruiting in the
And
same
so
pool.
when they come play each other, the game is going to be close. It's not just because they Division II doesn't matter. They recruiting some of the same kids. FAMU's not getting those upper echelon D1 players. They might get some transfers later on. That might help. But we're talking about some of the same kids. A couple of kids on that team is from Tallahassee. So
Oh yeah, I know.
I'm not surprised. I've been a part of it when I played. That was one tough game. Because they right up the road. They tough.
Anytime Albany State and FAMU hook up, you can throw the records out. Albany State is going to give that in a lot of ways, because of the bragging rights just resonate. You can almost throw it out. I think Grambling played Tuskegee. Was it Tuskegee they played over the weekend?
And
Tuskegee played. Didn't they play?
Jackson State.
That game they got blown out.
Yeah. But Tuskegee, at the end of the year, the Turkey Day Classic, they always step up for Alabama State, and that game is always close. So
it hasn't been competitive the last few years, but yeah, you can throw out, especially because there's no playoff contention on the line. Like they just kind of,
when FAMU played Albany State, over the history, FAMU won way more than they lost.
Yeah, the record is phenomenal. I think.
Yeah, that's what most teams at FAMU play, because those records are built up over years ago, right? But I'm gonna tell you one thing: if they had lost that game, I'd take my phone off the hook.
You were not.
Thank goodness that didn't happen. I'm glad that the Rattlers got a win.
I knew the Rattlers gonna win.
Quinn Gray gave it his best shot.
He did a good job.
But the orange and green prevailed, and the cozy hot seat. Maybe it stays even. Not sure. There was still some grumbling going on, but we'll have to see as SWAC play opens up for FAMU. But for right now, Rattlers really, really at the right time needed to win in a must-win situation. That was one where it could have gone left, but it did not. So High school football news on the horizon. Let's go ahead and jump into a week number 4. And things that jumped out to me about, we talked about, Swanee was 0-3, Gabi was 0-3 going into that game. I think we had I think we had 2 or 3 games where they were at least 100 points on the scoreboard between both teams.
Yeah.
We had a game that got postponed until October. Uh, but let's go ahead and talk about it, man. Rickers and Childs. And this one,
Ooh,
I think we have to give credit where credit is due. Coach
yep.
Reagans has really, really, really turned some heads this year. I think he knew what he had. We knew the offense. We knew that there were still some guys. There were still some dudes on that team. We just didn't know how things were going to mesh together with a new quarterback. But that clearly is not the issue over on the north side of Tallahassee as the Timberwolves. And really just don't look now, but man, the Timberwolves are sitting at 3-1 with a convincing win over Rickards, 37-20. And a lot of what we like to take a look at in certain situations is just who stood out, who are the playmakers. No, Childs just really lined up and they just dominated Rickards. For a good deal of the game, and the Raiders appeared out of sorts. And it's not we know we know Kelly at quarterback is definitely a threat, but they just kind of bottled him up, for a good deal of the game. And Childs they walked away with this one.
Childs really just ran the ball down Rick's throat. It was started off, it was a 7-7 game. And then Childs just took over the game, a solid running game. Rickers had no answer. They had no answer for Childs running attack. And I think Coach Reagan's doing a great job. And I was kind of surprised at the score. I thought it'd be closer. And I thought Rickers might win the game, but hey, Timberwolves look like they got it going on.
Yeah, and this is the thing. It feels like they're kind of all putting the pieces together. So, the last couple of years we've seen the lines on both sides be solid. We knew the defense was there, keeping them in games last year, but the offensive piece is just clicking. I think to Coach's point, Clark and Cadet are doing a really good job rushing the ball. And then it seems like they turned Cade Fryer loose. We knew he was solid, the Jacksonville State commit, but him and you remember G5, of course, from St. John Paul II last year. And so him and G5 are rolling, and we know G5 has some guts, and he took some shots, but delivered, and they ended up being some big plays over the back end. But Childs is balanced. They're sneaking up on people, and gentlemen, don't look now, but they're rolling here, and I think they're the only Leon County school team that's going to play the other of the big four here, but they've already got to win against McCullough. They've got to win against Rickards. Got to be on the schedule this week. Something feels different this year for a team who's really gotten the short end of the stick. I know we were talking about playoff points. Charles has been kind of living in the dark side of that playoff conversation. But their balance and effectiveness has been really good. And they're just mean. There's that physicality and the pocket that the line is given G5 was solid there. And you can see some of the clips, what you see G5. From what I was watching on the big screen last week, looked real good. All three areas of the football.
Yeah, they are very physical up front, and I think that's the thing that for the most part just really really stood out to me. This is an offensive line that just absolutely bullied. You can see right there trying to get extra in an extra yardage situation. They just ran it for an additional 15 yards. That offensive line is tough, and I think that's one of the reasons why they're sitting at 3-1 right now. We look at certain aspects of a team, like who the playmakers are. Right now, it's the offensive line.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say Coach Reagan's has a very special team here with Childs. And like you said, Andrew, they do play a handful of the local region teams. And knowing Coach Reagan's, like I do when I was a student back at Leon, his time there, if there's one thing that he is as a person and a coach, he's very determined. He wants to win. And I think when I was in school back in the past, let's just say Childs was not much of a big conversation like they are now. And he's really given them that look and image. And they do play Godby this week, which we'll talk about here shortly. And yeah, I think this team has some high goals set on not only becoming, city champs, district champs, you name it. He's got this team with a very high goal set.
Yeah, I look at Childs as being now a threat, in their district. This could be one of those where, some historical things could happen. I don't think Childs has won their district outright. They've been close several years. I think they pushed one year. They pushed Leon to the brink. I think it was an overtime game. That was the same year. I think they shocked Lincoln one year. So it's just not falling into place. But man, the ingredients are definitely in the pot. We're gonna see how it boils out for them. But man, it was a great win for the Timberwolves. And just looking at how they ran the ball, Cadet 125 yards on the ground, and not really anything that stands out to you other than the fact that, like, defensively, Mason McCants 13 tackles, and Alex Asantes had another 11 chipping in just to kind of anchor the linebacking unit. And that's really what you want. If you got guys flying around defensively, they had about 2 or 3 guys in double figures on tackles. They really got after it against Kelly, who's really just a dynamic quarterback. Not to take anything away from Rickers, they just ran into a bigger dog that night. And Childs, 37, really, and it was the second quarter, I believe. I think they put up like 17 points in the second quarter to really pull away, because at one point I think it was 24-7, and then shutting the door at the end of the game. Childs a big winner over Rickers, 37-20. Keeping it rolling. This one, I had my eyes on, but then this was an old fashioned. This felt like an old NFC Central matchup, just with the score 9-0 Columbia over Madison, and the Tigers are 4-0. Madison, actually, that record is flipped around. It's 1-3 for the Cowboys.
I was about to say.
It felt weird typing that up, but I obviously I got that backwards. But Madison County is 1-3 on the year, which is a weird spot for them to be in. But they had a similar schedule last year. They're trying to stack up opponents to really take the benefit during playoff time. It has aided them well. But man, it's still a weird situation for the Cowboys, and it's a hard line. You don't want to put your team too down because they're used to winning. But man, Columbia looked good defensively in this game.
Well, I'm not surprised that that they won. I'm surprised at how low the score was.
Yeah,
9-0. I was looking at the score and I'm wondering, like, is that correct?
Was this all field goals?
Maybe somebody made a touchdown and missed the extra point. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure how it went. I mean, Mark got the. You can look it up and see how they did it, but I'm surprised, but not surprised. And one other thing I'm surprised at, Madison didn't score.
I believe it was scoreless.
When the last time Madison got shut out, which is that's
let alone at home.
That's rare. That is rare.
I mean, you talk about two state champs. That always playing up, and the fact that they got in the game and they struggle to put points on the board. I mean, you can't win if you don't score. And so 9-0, man. I know the fans were falling out of their seats with excitement.
Yeah, it's not your Cottondale Freeport type game for sure, gentlemen. But this is kind of the other end of the spectrum, as the law of large
here.
Yeah, as the law of large numbers kind of plays itself out. This is the opposite of the Cottondale Freeport game. But with Arnold, I mean, on the Madison County defense, he was going nuts with the sacks, and this is just the trenches. Both teams had less than 150 yards offense going into their final drive. To your point,
That's got to
Coach.
be a crazy stat. When is the last time
Wow.
Madison didn't rush for 100 yards in a game?
Yeah, it was wild.
Friday.
I mean, I guess the strategy for Lake City, Columbia in this game was to establish shutting down the running game early, knowing that this is a rival that you've played with for a long time. You know what they're capable of, and you have an idea of what they're going to attack you with. So what are we going to do? We're going to shut down the one thing that they're good at, and that's judging by the box score that I saw up there. That's probably what they did for a good portion of the game was shut down the running game.
Well, you
Well,
can
yeah,
see
that's
the
what
safety
everybody.
there might have been the difference maker, and then the touchdown late to just pull away. But really, man, shout out to Columbia's defense. That is a team that is for real, and they are riding on the backs of really just a great defensive effort. You can see where Madison really probably tried to come out swinging, and especially in the second half, you want to make those adjustments, especially if you're not scoring any points. But Columbia just clamped down and closed the door. Um, and really, when you look at it, this is a rarity. You don't see negative rushing yards, in certain areas, but it's all over on both sides. You can see where both teams' defenses were really, really trying to get after it. And unfortunately for Madison, this is a weird spot for them to be in. But also, there's a sense of pride in things that they have out there in Madison and in that part of the county where they just take pride in being able to play hard nosed smash mouth football. And really for Columbia, this is a huge win over a rival opponent that really gives you a lot of momentum going in through the midpoint of the season. Madison may have some tinkering and some things they need to do. They're still a relatively young football team, but just foreign territory for the Cowboys.
My
Mark,
question, my
the one
question
thing I wanted to
is,
say before you get started, Eddie,
yeah,
with S and Jupe, they might be ahead on points because the teams they play, they play a lot of teams up, and with just one victory, they might be one of the leading point getters in the whole playoff system.
Yeah, they might. It will.
That, that's the thing with the points. I think they'll be fine just because they're going to carry so many good records in there. And then you look at next week, what do they got? Bay again, right? And then you look at the next week, they got Pace. And then you look at the next week, they got somebody else. So So the points will help them. It's going to be tough because you got to get a couple. I think the magic number is 3. It's hard to get in without 3 wins. And I kind of see them. You look at the schedule, we could be talking at about 3 to 5. 3 to 5.
The remaining schedule looks really tough.
And is the record going to affect their seeding by any chance? Because I don't know how the rule division of the FHSAA does like seeding for them. Will their record affect it by the end of the season on where they're placed going on the road or having a home playoff game to begin with?
Jupe, you're the expert. Was
alleged expert. It's it'll play a large part, and so I think they're going to have to do it the hard way and the way it's kind of trending. Not to put gloom and doom, but if you remember a couple of years back, they had to go on the road and kind of do it more so in that regard. It seems that's the way it's trending. Not to get too dramatic, because a lot of things can change. We're week 4, right? So we want to put some context on this, but it is what it is.
We don't want to jinx them. We don't want to jinx them.
So obviously rooting for them, but that's a tough one because this game they were actually going in to score. So they had trouble moving the ball, but they're inside of Columbia's 40, fumbled the ball, and then that's when that next couple plays Columbia goes on a monster run, and then that's when they go in and score the touchdown. Wow. So it was really only the safety. It's 2-0, scoreless at halftime. Safety is in the third quarter. You go all the way, what's 3 quarters? 3 quarters plus 9 minutes, 36, 44 minutes. Yeah, you're almost the entire game until the last 3 minutes, and that's when the touchdown occurs after Madison was on the way in. So it's just 2 runs, basically those chunk plays for Columbia. They cash it in, and it was finally the straw that broke the back. But Madison had a shot to go down. Even if Madison gets a field goal there to make it 3-2, can Columbia go the length of the field, get the touchdown? We may be having a different conversation of
Man,
one of
look
the
at that
craziest
You get the short
games. But
Look
yeah,
at that
yeah, to your
schedule.
point,
safety.
Ooh, brutal.
Reigns.
Oh
Reigns is
yeah, the
wild.
schedule
Granted,
goes Bay, Pace at
Man.
Reigns,
Then they go to
Florida High at home,
God.
at Apopka, at Lecanto. And this is where, you look at the schedule and you go, ooh, like if you can squeeze out a couple of wins, you be doing pretty good. But if Madison gets in the playoffs, they're going to do damage. But the problem is that it's if you can get in and stay healthy during the remainder of this stretch. This is rough going because you're ending the season away from home. Your last home game is against Florida High on the 17th of October. But again, at Bay, at Reigns, at Apopka, that alone is going to be rough.
Those are
Yeah,
some heavyweights, man.
that is brutal.
Heavyweights.
Last two though, I think Apopka and Lecanto are a little more gettable than you would have kind of predicted early in the season. So maybe it's a kind of 12 or week. What is it? 7-week playoff basically for Madison to kind of win and kind of play in games.
I think for them being successful might look like I would say probably a 4 and maybe 5 season would look would be ideal, especially 4 and 6 season. And coach, you wouldn't know about that. FAMU High was 4-6 going into the playoffs and ended up winning the whole thing.
Wait a minute. Hold up.
Oh,
We won 4-6. We was 5. We had won 5 games. Don't take one of our victories away from us.
5-5.
We won all the way. I mean, the records, according to who you play. If you're playing up like Madison is, when you play teams on your level. I mean, you're gonna be more evenly matched. It's not gonna be such a tough road. But Madison, I mean, the Rule 1A, those teams, they got Taylor County, Bluntstown. I mean, it ain't easy, and you want to play those. You want to play them games at home, and if you got to go on the road to play some of these teams, that is a tough act. That's tough. Home games.
Let's keep it rolling. Swanee got to be linking up the battle of the winless teams, and Gabi comes out with a hard-fought victory, getting the first dub on the year down in Swanee, 36-31. And, had a chance to talk to Coach Holston earlier. They actually, Cougars actually were able to jump out early, and Swanee fought back later in the game as, Coach Hall's teams, they're going to have some fight to them. But this is one where I think both teams were looking for their identity. And I think Gabi was able to come out on top. But what's interesting about it, I don't think either team expected to be here at this point in the season. I think Gabi is like maybe, despite I think there was 2 touchdowns the week before. And then other than that, I think they're 3 points away from being an undefeated team. And then that, I think the week before with against Catholic, they led in the game and then gave up 2 scores late. So this is one of those where you see kind of where the schedule really affects you. But I think for Gabi, it's just more so I think the guys came together at the right, or the team was able to gel at the right time, because this one, you hate to see that lead get built up and then it starts getting salted away. But Gabi hangs on in a tough environment. Swanee's still looking for some answers at this point. I don't think we've seen the Bulldogs be 0-4 in quite some time.
Yeah, Mark, these two teams, isn't that a district matchup also?
It was.
Gabi and Swanee. That's a big game for Gabi to come away with a victory. It put themselves in place to make the playoffs, and that's all you want to do. And I was keeping up with this game, and I was like, because it was at one time, I think it was 29 to 31 or whatever. Gabi was behind by 1 point, and at the end took the lead and won. And Gabi is pretty tough playing some of these games in the fourth quarter and having to come out on top. It's hard. Sometimes you want to get a break when you get at the end. You don't want to have to fight every week just to win a football game, and but that helps your team. It gives you have a great week of practice coming up. Having you're taking away a district opponent, and on the other hand, Swanee, man, I used to work in for a company out of that area. They don't take too good to losing over there. I mean, I don't think you guys even understand. It is it's like a college town when it comes to football over there, and they don't have much patience for losing. I mean, when I was there, and this was years ago, coach had lost. He was 0-5 and got fired.
Oof.
I mean, but this is Kyle is a hometown boy, and that might make a big difference. And again, he has had some success, but I've seen, I've been around those folks. I used to be in that area quite a bit. Man, they do not like to lose football games over there. That used to be one of the top programs in the state of Florida, although that was in the '90s. That's years and years ago. They were like the first team with when I first saw them, they had TV, the lights in the stadium with TV lights. They were ahead of most people. I don't want to tell all the season. Their coaches were making more money than anybody in the state of Florida. I mean, they had it all, and now to see them 0-4 in the program is tough to see. It's tough to watch, and maybe they'll get it turned around later on in the season.
And that's the beauty of it is, Coach, I think everybody's kind of having a rough go in the districts. This is Gabi's first win. Baker County's still winless. Wakulla's got one win. Swanee's looking for their first. So, a couple things go right. I think it's going to be down to the wire for this district. And kind of what Mark was saying about the old school automatic bid. We still get the automatic bid here. But yeah, back to this game in a vacuum. I mean, they had chunk plays. They were fun to watch. And Doherty was slinging it, and you love to see, with Simmons and how high profile he is, to see Vickers, your number 2 guy, and they were just sending the guys deep, throwing them. They would do a couple stuff over the middle, but Doherty was slinging it. I know he's got the 3 rushing touchdowns, so he kind of steals you there. But man, he was slinging it, and the schematics of the plays were really fun. It was like Coach Holston was up there on Madden. The way he had Simmons isolated, he was on the small side.
They have a kind of madness feel. It feels very much like, hey, we're gonna sling it and we're gonna see what happens. They can be it's fun to watch, but you also it has you can. In my conversation with Coach Holston, his major concern was just putting the pieces together. He feels like, in a lot of ways, we've left points on the board, and if we can get those things fine-tuned, this could be a very dangerous football team. And then considering the fact that they had a very wild summer where I don't think they really had a roster set until first week of fall camp. So it just anytime you kind of go through some stuff like that, the controversy, the transfers, and all of that, to realize that your team could still be on the brink of something really good, you just kind of makes you wonder, man, being able to kind of put some rules in place as far as the transfers go, or at least being able to know what you're going to have going into the season might be able to remedy some of this. But this is one of those where, the longer this team plays together, the better they're going to get. They do have some things that are right there on the edge, but Gabi finally puts a dub in the win column, improving to 1-3. Swanee's still looking for answers, and hopefully, Juke, like you were saying, this district is going to be very wild, and we'll see what happens as it shakes out. It's unfortunate because when you get into the playoffs, you just run into teams that have been clicking for so long, especially when you get past the regional finals. Moving on to other scores around the area. We got to talk about this one, man. Franklin County. I had this one. I thought I did. And Liberty County just was like, nah, we're not having it this time. This is a revenge game. This game went down to the wire last year with Franklin County going into Bristol and coming out with the win. And Liberty County just had payback on their minds and moving into a 2-2 record as they were able to upend the Seahawks on the road, no less, 43-27. very good win for the Bulldogs. Uh, we had a chance to talk to Coach Williams. He knows that him and Coach Tranquil, what they have in the nucleus is just a matter of time before those guys start putting it together, and it really showed up in a big way last Friday as Liberty County upends Franklin County, stops the streak, moves to 2-2 on the year, and Franklin County falls 3-1. But man, it's nothing like these kind of games because you really don't know how competitive they are until you watch them up close and personal. And for the Bulldogs, you could tell it was personal.
Mark,
Yeah.
my thing is, I was thinking that Franklin County was going to, be 4-0 because going into the game, Liberty with one victory, Franklin 3-0, and then all of a sudden I'm looking at the scores and I'm like, man, they ran into a buzzsaw. They would just say, no, 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 no. We want to play this week. And I know after talking to the coaches this and media day, they were excited at Liberty about what they had going on. And I was so, I saw they had took some serious beatings playing some tough teams in their area. And now Franklin, you thought Franklin was going to be, I thought they might get over the hump and knock them off. But hey, my hat's off to Liberty because they came, that surprised me. I'm be honest with you, it surprised me.
Yeah, it was just slow and steady too. They were just chipping away. You had this kind of 10, 11, 12 yards, and then you have the one kind of breakout every now and then. They were keeping everything in front, chipping away. They weren't letting Franklin get the super huge plays, and they just kind of chipped away, played some solid defense. When you boil down to it, chip away, have the focus on the run game as they do, and we're pretty fun.
Yeah. I
Shout
can
out to
tell
Liberty's
here.
quarterback. He was looking a little Johnny Manziel-ish during the game.
Well.
He was really finding his spots there. Dropped a couple of dimes, but man, the running game you can see really got going for Liberty as they were able to eat up just a lot of chunk yards on the ground. And that pretty much just spells it all as the Bulldogs running attack. Shout out to the offensive line as they really got stuff done. But man, going into your opponent's house and just running the ball effectively like that says a lot about what this team can be, and maybe their trajectory has changed.
Yeah, this win could be the beginning of Liberty County's turning point in the season, especially if you have a quarterback looking more like Baker Mayfield than Johnny Manziel. I'm just going to say that.
Man, you got your shot at him, Tampa Buccaneer fan.
Next up on the lineup, we have what I like to call just who's going to win first. And so Holmes County found a way, for Rutherford, it is tough. Your heartstrings kind of get, it's just like, oh man, they're right there on the edge. But man, another tough loss for the Rams as they are still sitting at 0-3 on the year. The Blue Devils improved to 1-3 with their first victory on the year, 21-19. And we knew this was going to be close. I think we called it out the week before. Both teams were really evenly matched. And Holmes County really, I'd call it home field advantage or whatever, but it was enough to bypass Rutherford 2-point win over the Rams. And Blue Devils are winless no more with a 21-19 win over Rutherford.
Man,
won by 2 points.
I'm not even surprised at this score. I'm surprised it didn't go into overtime, 21-21. Holmes County lost the previous games by a total, I think, of 4 or 5 points. And they barely won this one with 2 points. Rutherford, same kind of struggles. They play each other and then they win by 2 points. And Rutherford looked like I'm just guessing. I didn't keep up with how they scored, but looked like they scored 3 touchdowns and didn't make the extra points. And it looked like that's the theme for the season for both of these teams is struggle putting points on the board. And then when they got an opportunity, Holmes was fortunate enough they got 21 and 19 for Rutherford. I'm not surprised at the score. It was a toss up in my mind anyway.
Yeah, one of those you just kind of got to grind them out. We've seen a lot of that in rural ball, gang. I know Rutherford outside of rural, but all these games feel like they've been so close, um, especially involving Holmes County and Bose.
Yeah.
Everybody just kind of grinded out, and so while it may not be the highlight reel that you're looking for, this one was pretty high scoring though with the 3 touchdowns there for Holmes, but
Yeah.
as opposed to kind of what we've been seeing. But this is kind of just grinded out football, like you talked about. You throw Sneads in there too, physicality, and it's just some old school ball that kind of captures that Americana that we love in kind of this I-10 corridor gang.
Question is, man, how much more of these games can you take, win or lose?
More.
Because it's like, okay, now that you have a victory, is every victory going to be the same? Like, judge determined by one score by the looks of it. But nah, props out to Holmes County for finally getting this one. And from what I can tell in this performance, they did really good. And same thing with Rutherford too, in finding a way to get back into it. Just could not get those 2 points to tie the game.
Yeah, you can see the defensive front for Holmes County really getting after it, forcing the sack here. One of the things about, and this has kind of been one of in my opinion, one of the tales of the tape, especially as the season gets going, is that Holmes County really has been knocking on the door for quite a bit. They've had 3 games prior where it could have gone their way. It just didn't. I think this team was just hungrier than Rutherford. And it's tough to go in there and win. And, this is one of those places where you get out there to Bonifay and you can tell right away, the crowd gets into it. They don't care what the record is. It's Friday night and it's football. One of the things that I do think that, Rutherford does do very well is they find a way to hang around in ball games, but not necessarily in position to close them out. And this is one where just, man, the team that was more hungry just won. And you can see, it really came down to what happened in the trenches. Watch the offensive line here. This is just one of those where they're just moving in sync, being able to create, opportunities for their offense. And you can see number 17 there just kind of almost took it to the house there. But, every time you can pick up big chunk yards like that, your offensive line is really clicking. So, it just kind of, worked out in their favor this time, but it was still a very closely contested ball game. But, man, Holmes County just wanted it more.
Yeah, exciting stuff too. And of course, some of these teams are a little younger. Like you talked about 17, Mark. I think that's Madison, the freshman with the big reception. Yeah. He had almost 100 yards. And then I like the dual threat quarterback, Reed, out there at Rutherford. Just a sophomore, so give him some time. But he's exciting to watch. And Rutherford's been in battles all season long. Even go back to preseason. They had a grinded out, wild preseason game, even going back then. So the Rams, kind of what we talked about, Coach, says it all the time about kind of learning to get over the hump, right? And then once you do, then you kind of go downhill a little bit. But they're right there. But they've been producing some really fun games, and you can see the crumbs. You can see the crumbs for Rutherford in a positive way.
All right, this one we got to talk about. This one was just exciting. A thrilling win for the Marauders. And I didn't get updated, but it was hold on, let me see if I can find that. Let me throw the correction in there. It was McClay taking on Valwood. And here, let me see if I can make an adjustment here so people don't get all. Hang on, folks. But yeah, McClay went. This is one of those where I don't think they've had much success at Valwood in years past, and for them to be able to go in and really come out with a 35-34 victory, that was one of those where I think it just kind of defined their season. McClay is undefeated, guys. That is a for real 4-0 record. They have been arguably one of the more physical teams in the area. And, their schedule still looks pretty favorable, but this is a team that brought back quite a few underclassmen from that run last season. And we don't really get into it, how close McClay came to a state championship berth. It's almost weird to say that, but they were leading in the game last season in the I think it was in the regional final or in the semifinal, and just kind of gave up a couple of late touchdowns. But they returned quite a few guys who have experience, and man, this team is for them. It's like nobody told them that they or for whatever reason they didn't get the memo, and for them they're still rolling right along. A lot of it has to do, I think, with just the fact of what they bring back. This team still has a lot of pieces left, and the offensive line plays absolutely great.
Well, Mark, one thing about winning, it breeds winning. McClay has changed coaches the last three years in a row, but the players are still pretty much the same. And when you're used to winning, you don't like to lose, and so you continue. You create winning habits. It seems like when I watch McClay, they have winning habits. They don't turn the ball over. They're consistent. They don't make a lot of mistakes, and you'll win most of your game. You play solid defense, good special teams, play solid the whole game. You'll win. You'll win most of your games. Most times you lose. Most teams lose games as opposed to most teams lose due to mistakes than win because of what they did. And McClay is a positive, solid football team that does everything right. And if you're gonna go out and play them, you gotta beat them. They're not gonna beat themselves.
And you gotta put them away too, because I think that's exactly what Valwood experienced, and that was the problem in the first half. Coach, we haven't seen them turn the ball over, but I think they had 3 turnovers in the first half, couple picks, and a fumble, which allowed Valwood to get up to that 21-0 lead. So it's homecoming. Valwood's up 21-0. They're having a party down there at South Georgia, and they think they're just gonna roll McClay. And then all of a sudden, Coach Sloan gets in the locker room. He talks the boys up a little bit, and then you have the comeback trail start chipping away, and then Popple and Richardson, monster second halves. To your point, Coach, the line was getting after it, but the receivers, the yak was off the charts. And I love a good hometown broadcast, and you started to see the tone really change in quarters 3 and 4 as opposed to what the tone was in the first and second. So for our local boys, selfishly, that was awesome. But a monster second half. They really responded well to adversity, because that had been kind of the rip, or a lot of the narrative that was being pushed was, well, McClay's never been in a close game. Let's see how they can handle a close game. This is a young team. They came back, showed up big, and they can show that they do it on the road. So not just over at Frank Shaw Field, gang. So I think this is, to you all's point saying earlier, this is a really big win from McClay. I wouldn't say the biggest for the landscape.
27 for 331.
Wow.
Also he also chipped in with 60 yards on the ground. That's what you want from your quarterback. I think the bulk of that came in the second half. But then you see where Juke, you were right. Tucker Popple, Richardson, receiving wise, Richardson had 3 touchdowns, 116 yards receiving, and then Tucker Popple was an absolute menace, 163 yards receiving. You had 2 guys that went over 100, 150. That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, man. I remember hearing these players' names. Jupe, we had a couple broadcasts like a year or 2 ago with these young men when they were underclassmen, and to see their journey and where they have helped taken McClay now at this level of excellence that we're seeing. I mean, 4-0. Historically speaking, when was the last time McClay had such a fantastic start to their season now, undefeated, like right now at 4-0? When was the last time?
I think it was like maybe too
long ago.
Yeah.
They've been very fortunate with winning seasons, barely getting in the playoffs, losing maybe the first or second round or something.
I think
they might be able to get over the hump. It's not an easy win to go in there and play them.
Not especially in South Georgia. I mean, like in a state that definitely takes high school football just as serious as we do.
I think, almost as good as Avon Port.
Hey! Now, don't do that. And I'm happy to say we snapped the losing streak against Hardee. after 3 years in a row. We did. They
Yeah,
did it.
I got you opening, man.
But yeah, for the Marauders, the bye week comes at a very good time. When you take a look at how things stack up for them, they've got at FAMU High on the 26th, Taylor County at home, Chambers County at home, and then 3 games on the road at NFC, at Deerfield, Windsor, and then at Walton. So schedule still has some tough opponents on it, but for McClay, they're looking like the real deal right now.
History could be made this season, man. Gentlemen, we could be witnessing something very special.
At least 20. I know 2018 they went undefeated, Eddie. As I'm kind of trying to go back, I'm trying to see if they did it before that. They did undefeated regular season.
I think Kyler,
just before COVID.
Kyler Hall was there. I think they went undefeated one year.
Yeah, that was that 10-0 season, and they lost to Trinity.
You said 20
football conference, the
yeah
predecessor to the what is it? The SSA.
The SSAA, Sunshine State Athletic Association.
Yeah, they've had some success in the past. I think it's just hard to sustain things. At one point they were in 1A, then bounced between 1A and 3A for a little bit. But this is one of those where you just gotta hats off to Coach Sloan. He's been able to do a lot with a team that he inherited. And really get a new crop of players just galvanized, and they're taking advantage of the schedule. But man, sitting at 4-0, this looks really well. I think McClay definitely has an opportunity if things bode well for them, and they should. They could be looking at hosting a playoff game.
That's what you want.
Absolutely,
yeah. And they're really kind of taking control of the district too. I think most people would say they're the lead favorite.
And it's them, NFC, and DRS. Yeah, they would be the top front runner right about now. Other scores from around the area: South Walton handles Arnold 24-6. DRS and Sneeze got postponed until October. Mariana over Bozeman 21-7. In a bit of a surprise as well. I think we talked about that briefly. Taylor County all over NFC, 42-0. Shipley hangs half 100 on Vernon, 55-0. And then this one broke the scoreboard. I don't know if it was worth talking about or not, but Cottondale 60, Freeport 71. What do you tell your offense? You hang 60 points and it's in a loss.
Hey, I coached the game like that and lost the game. So,
goodness,
we put up 600 yards of offense and lost the football game because we couldn't stop the other team.
Wow, wild time.
Yeah, that game was awesome. That was an awesome game. Yeah, I was watching it. So I watched it Saturday morning. So because I was watching a couple games on Friday, and then I tuned in Saturday morning to watch this one. Awesome game. Freeport actually does a pretty good job streaming it out on their YouTube. So shout out to the Bulldogs for taking care of business out there. But yeah, this game was awesome. And Cottondale, a lot of people were sleeping on Cottondale because I know all those people graduated, but they're legit. They got like 45 Collinses on the team. They can all catch the ball and they can all score. So they're going off out there. So don't sleep on Cottondale. But Freeport, another undefeated team. So don't sleep on them in 2A, gentlemen.
Well, at Media Day, Mark, you remember they brought in you saw some studs walk in that room, man, and they got a top receiver. I can't remember his name right now. They have a top receiver committed to Louisville. They're excited about their passing game, man. I watched some of the highlights of the season before, man. They put the ball in the air. And they were down at halftime in this game, 48-43.
Yeah.
That's a lot of points.
I saw that when keeping up with all the scores throughout Florida. I'm like, what?
And I said, man, they're gonna lose. They're gonna lose at home. And man, I looked at the finals. I was like, dang.
That was insane. There was 60 points scored in the second quarter. They each scored 30 points. I think it's Julius Miles, the big tight end, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yes, that's it.
But
Yep.
yeah, he's legit. And then one of the Collins brothers, I think it's Tremont Collins, he's going to UF. So
Yeah.
they were big time pass catchers, and they just kind of kept throwing it up to him, and they kept scoring.
Yeah, he had garnered a lot of attention, and one of those crazy games. But yeah, Freeport a big winner over Cottondale, 71-60. That's a basketball score.
Yeah. Yeah.
North Bay Haven a big winner over Graceville, 60-12. Gaston County falls to Coffee County out of Georgia, 23-12. And then rounding out the scoreboard for week number 4, Jefferson County falls to Trenton, 38-8. Hamilton County falls to another 70-point opponent in West Nassau. Trojans fall 70-30. Alcilla Christian, a big winner over Rocky Bayou, 35-26. Lafayette, this one's the one that I kind of had my eye on as well. Lafayette falls in a big way to Chiefland, 41-14, and that ends the Hornets' undefeated season as they fall to 3-1 now. Mosley goes out to the Pensacola area and comes back with the dub, 36-16 over Navarre. Walton falls to West Florida, 35-6, and then Bay rolling right along, undefeated, with a big winner over Escambia, 28-14, and that'll do it for week number 4. But man, look at the Tornadoes sitting undefeated. They've got a big game coming up this week against Madison County. As we go ahead and pull up the week number 5 schedule, let's go ahead and jump into it. Up first on deck, the Seminoles. We'll get to the Seminoles in a minute, but Godby hosting Childs. We had a chance to talk to Coach Holston early in the week, and man, this is going to be a tough game and very interesting with Godby's offensive firepower. But can they put something together defensively to contain Childs? Because man, that offensive line for the Timberwolves is awfully good, and they have been in a very dominant mode over the past 2 or 3 games.
Well, Mark, in the past, I didn't used to be too excited about this matchup, but right now, I'm looking forward to this game. I want to see how Godby matches up with the Timberwolves. You know, the Timberwolves was a team on the road, and I saw that great running attack they put together last week on Ricketts. I'm wondering if Godby can stop them, and can the Timberwolves stop the passing attack of Godby? That's an exciting matchup. Hopefully, it's on one of my things I watch on TV. It's either on television or it's on the network, high school network. So I'm gonna get to see it either way.
I would not be surprised if this one went into overtime.
Overtime, you say?
This one, to me, there's no way it ends up like it did last year. It was 14-6. It was the craziest. It was the craziest bend don't break defense that I've ever seen. So Godby put up over 450 yards, 6 points on the board. This one, to me, to Mark's point, I don't know if he's feeling high scoring overtime, but it kind of feels that way. Also, you talk about breaking streaks. Godby's won 14 out of the last 16 in this series, gang, and they've also won the last 8. So, for what it's worth, Charles is definitely on the uprise. And if you're going to try to take down an in-city rival, kind of feels like you got a good chance the way things are trending.
And you said that's the record that Childs has on Godby right now?
No, Godby has dominated Childs.
Okay, yes.
Godby has won 14 of 16 and the 8 straight.
So that right there is the motivation for Childs. Like in a matchup that has pretty much, against a school that has had your number for so long, and now you're on the verge of possibly being a contender to win the city title as well. Now, that right there that you just said, Juke, that's motivation to want to go out and win, and maybe even win in dominant fashion.
That's a cougar. We got some Cougars in the house. I mean, hey.
I'm just saying. I'm being respectful, but we're professionals. I gotta talk.
This one to me is going to come down to Godby has been playing to the level of the competition. They pushed Florida High to the brink. They pushed Rickards to the brink. Well, they led Rickards for most of the game. Could not close things out, and so talking with Coach Holston is just, can you get those things cleaned up? And for Childs, this is a team that's getting better each week. They had the big win over Pelham, just to kind of get things, shake off the Dothan loss. Then after that, it's just been a steady stream of improvement. They go into Wakulla, pull out a big victory, and then they take on Rickards, and they just got better. Just got better each week. Childs really offensively, it's going through the offensive line. It's, just watching them, very few mistakes, very few penalties. This is a team that's been playing very disciplined up front. I would not be surprised again if it went into overtime, but this is definitely a game that I think that each team, this is going to kind of be a season defining game, if I could call it that.
Already?
I definitely think so. Given the midpoint of the season, this is a game. If you win this game, you really are riding you really riding some much needed momentum.
Are we
Going
talking
in
you're talking Childs? It's,
either team,
I mean,
Yeah,
y'all be leading in the district, man. What are you talking
Yeah, I mean the win to get your first win in a district win. That
You hate
yeah.
you hate getting a win and then taking a step back. You don't want to create that up and down effect. I feel like they had that last year. You win a pair of games in a row, of two or three games in a row, and then you take a step back. It just kind of, it kills your momentum. You really want to be able to kind of put together a string of victories. I think Godby's capable, but man, Childs is awfully hot right now.
I agree with you on that. But when you're coaching, in doing this high school stuff, you just want to win your district. You can play a game like that. You want to win the city title, but to make the playoffs, you got to win your district. And I think Godby's already almost there. I think they're probably the best team in the district as of right now.
Florida High taking on South Walton, and man, the Seminoles not quite in wounded animal mode, but they are definitely embattled. You had the tough loss to Hawthorne. The bye week comes at a very good time, and then of course a couple of weeks before that, you had the 80-point game on the road. And for Florida High, the schedule, man, the schedule's not quite up there with Madison, but it's a few clicks shy of that. And the Seahawks are looking awfully good. But for Florida High, after this one, they've got Childs, Gadsden County, at Gadsden County, at Madison, at Bishop Moore, at Mosley. So it doesn't get any easier for the Seminoles, but for South Walton, this is one of those where, again, you find a way to win a big one on the road, and don't look now, but man, the Seahawks are really sitting in a good position. Their schedule is actually favorable for them, but man, this is a matchup where you really have to take South Walton's passing attack. Florida High definitely can run the ball still. Tegan Hackett just really a tough out, especially when you hand him the ball and he gets out in space. But yeah, this is going to be a ground attack versus a passing game. And right now, South Walton's air game is looking really good right now.
Well, Mark, one of the problems when you win quite a bit, it's tough to schedule teams. Nobody wants to play you, so you got to always be playing up to get a schedule. You got to put 10 games together, and it's hard to find people at your level or below to play you. So it's sort of like the curse of being a winner. You're not gonna get those easy games. You're gonna always have to play games like this, and I'm looking forward to this. This is a heck of a matchup. South Walton, like you said, with the great passing attack, Florida High coming in with the running attack. Man, this is a home game for Florida High, if I'm correct. Yeah, so
yeah,
they need this game.
One of their last home games. I think they've only got 3 on the year.
Yeah. They need this game. They need a game like this at home, and because they stay on the road, and you want to play a team like South Walton. I know South Walton got like 8 home games themselves, right? So because they played on the road all last year, so this is a heck of a matchup.
Yeah, it'll be fun. 7 home games, Coach, for what it's worth. But to your point, they're getting the positive swing around.
They're like nice.
Those bird
Yeah.
teams out west, coach, you know how it goes. So with South Walton first road game, so I'm interested to see how they take the old circus on the road here. But it feels like it's really tough to keep them out of a game, kind of what Mark was saying with the passing game. And my boy JD out there taking care of some business, JD Brown, the way he's slinging out there. But hopefully Seminoles were able to get rested up over that bye week, to his point, because it's been a little tough sledding. But should be a fun one down there. And Florida High, recent history, they've been pretty successful over South Walton. So we'll see if they're able to ride that momentum down in Southwood.
Yeah, with this being a home game and everything, if you can keep it close early and also get the crowd in and get the help of that 12th man, then anything is possible for Florida High and possibly pulling off the upset this Friday night.
Yeah, Grant Gilmore is the person I'm most interested in. He's been having a monster season, averaging 100 and some odd, 120 some odd receiving yards a game for the Seahawks. And Coach Tisa, we talked to him the week prior. Really gave a lot of credit to his offensive line for keeping quarterback protected. But on defense, they've really been getting after it. I do think that deserves a lot of credit for what South Walton's been able to do, and really their undefeated streak right now. But when you take a look at it, the dominating win over Arnold, they dominated Fort Walton Beach. So they really had, in my opinion, I don't know if South Walton's really been in a dogfight before, but I expect this one to be very close. I would go a step further and say I think it's going to be low scoring at that.
I don't think it's going to be low. I think that, you're going to need a calculator for this game. These two teams, South Walton put up a lot of points. Florida High, if they can get their things together, this could be a pretty good. It won't be 70 points, but it should be a pretty nice. It should be a pretty nice scoreboard score. I don't think it's going to be that low scoring.
All right, let's keep it rolling. Port St. Joe and Leon. This is just intriguing. But Eddie, I'm gonna let you take this one. I'm gonna let you kick this one off.
After a bye week and resting up, I think Coach Bell and his team are now, they got their confidence built up after their win at home against Jefferson County. However, Port St. Joe coming off that brutal loss to Bluntstown. What was it, 60-13, I believe? So they're upset, they're angry, and if there's anything I know about, football is that, teams will look to take their anger out on something or someone. And that's the thing that Leon and Coach Bell and his team needs to get ready for, is that I think this game is at Port St. Joe.
Yeah.
So you're gonna go into Tiger Shark territory with a team that is looking to get back on track after what had just happened against Bluntstown. But Leon has done a good job making improvements. I will say, even in their two losses, they found a way to get back into the game, even though it was already out of reach by the time they did so. But in the Jefferson County game, you saw what happens when you make adjustments and you learn to make the stops early in the game, get on the scoreboard first, keep that same momentum going. So that's going to be the next step, is keeping that winning momentum and confidence going. And this is a good test for them, especially going to Port St. Joe.
This is just so intriguing to me because I'm not used to seeing these two teams match up in the first place. But man, Port St. Joe is playing really good football. I don't know that they're. I can't really call it yet because I'm not sure what Port St. Joe really is or how good they are, but I know they're good. And for Leon, I'm not sure, if the Jefferson County game was, the shot in the arm that they needed. But I feel like both teams are really in a area right now where I'm not sure what they are yet. So,
well, I think this is a good game for Leon. Period. Playing Port St. Joe, playing a team is in the 1A, and Leon is a 5 or 6A school. It's 5, and really, I think it's a good game after winning the first one. I think it's sort of like the perfect game for them to play. It's not going to be easy, but it's somebody they can beat. Oh, I shake your head at it. I think this is a great matchup for Leon.
Yeah, I agree. I
But,
agree.
but going to the one thing about it, playing in Port St. Joe is not easy.
Yeah.
It's I've been down there a couple three times, never won. So it is a tough place to play. But Leon, I think, has a great chance of getting their second victory for the season. Port St. Joe is good, smaller school. Leon is a bigger school. It should be should be a pretty good matchup.
Yep, second straight team. They're playing out of the rural classifications. We'll see if they can keep the wheels greased up, ready to roll. But to Mark's point, Point St. Joe's got a mean defense, so we'll see how long they can keep this interesting.
All right, we're gonna have our eye on that one on Friday. But moving right along, Bay, Madison County.
Ooh.
This is gonna be a good one. Madison County, I guess you could call it just unfamiliar territory. I'm not sure if they. I don't think Madison has hit the panic button. I think this is just one of those where they kind of know that this is what the schedule is going to do for us. This is what we're going to go up against. There's no breaks here. But I don't think anybody expected Bay to be undefeated at this point and being one of those teams. And here we are. Man, the Tornadoes have a huge opportunity. I think they understand how tough Madison is. Again, you know, Madison is one of those teams where just the logo by itself holds some weight. It's good enough for at least a touchdown, just the star. But honestly, Bay is playing excellent football right now. They have, I would call them the most dominant team in Panama City, right? They got the big win over Mosley, absolutely manhandled. I believe it was Arnold to start the season. This is a team that's definitely out to do some damage this year and make some noise, and they've got playmakers all over the field to do it.
Mark, where is this game being played?
I was just about to say.
Oh, Bay's at home.
Oh, if it was in Madison, I think Bay is this is a good matchup for them. It's going to be tough for Madison to go to Panama City and win. The way Bay is playing right now, it's going to be very difficult for them, especially since they lost a game like that last week. You know, when you start to lose, you start to question yourself. And one thing that happens if something goes wrong, then in the back of your mind, here we go again. We're struggling, and it's going to be tough for them to go to Bay and win. But it should be a decent matchup. Not a high-scoring game. Madison need to score and give themselves a chance. If they can let Bay get out to a couple touchdown lead, it could be over real quick.
There is a universe that's very, very possible if if Bay was able to upend Madison, there's a strong possibility they could go 10-0 on the year.
I was gonna say that this game right here, I feel like it is a must-win for Bay because of the reputation and recognition that Madison County has as a program with their fair share of state championship wins these past several seasons and years, and for Bay to get win number 5, especially against Madison County, that says a lot for them moving forward. And for Madison County, on the other hand, I also think it's a must-win for them too, because again, like we're not used to seeing the Cowboys in this position. I mean, 1-3, and you got to go on the road to Panama City as well. So I think it's a very important game for both teams. This will be very fun to watch and keep an eye out on.
The remainder of Bay's schedule goes at home versus Madison County, at home versus Pensacola, on the road at West Florida, at home versus Walton, at home versus Rutherford, and on the road versus Bozeman.
Wow, they could go 10-0 on that schedule.
Yeah, there's a very
West Florida might be the one.
You know, I don't ever put Madison out of any ball game.
Of course.
But you know, there is a possibility, especially with the way that they're playing. They are playing. I think definitely have gotten through. This will be the heart of their schedule right here. So we'll see how it turns out. But Madison kind of in. I wouldn't call it wounded animal mode, but this is unfamiliar territory for them. And Bay, they're. I mean, honestly, man, there's so many playmakers all over the field for them. They're playing excellent ball right now.
Yeah, it's kind of going to feel like Columbia too, with Garrett and Davis on the line. They're mean. They've been getting after the quarterback, and then you got a ball hawk, Andrews in the secondary, and then Morgan's still healthy, and he's been doing some damage on the offense. So this is one of those kind of complete teams we're talked about. To your point, gang.
Yep. Columbia taking on Trinity Christian, and I can't remember the last time we saw Trinity Christian sitting at 1-3. So, Drew, you had mentioned where just a lot of powerhouses in unfamiliar territory, but man, Columbia is sitting at 4-0. This is a game I believe they get them at home. Let me double check the schedule. But yeah, they're at home against the Crusaders, and this is arguably, I would say that's a very favorable scenario for the Tigers. After that, their schedule looks like that schedule doesn't look any better. They got to go out to St. Augustine at home versus Manatee, then out to Ridgeview, and then at home versus Clay, and then at home versus Bowles. So schedule doesn't get any easier, but at least most of their dominant opponents, they get them at home.
That's a big thing. You want to play these teams at home because usually going into those home plays of these tough teams, man, it is difficult to win because they are used to winning at home. And this should be one with the records being 1-3. That's still not an easy matchup for Columbia. They're gonna have to play because Trinity is not used to losing. I don't even know how many championships they've won, but they always in the hunt. So good luck, Columbia.
Yeah, and don't look too much into the 1-3 record. I mean, you can kind of take a look at it, but the teams that they've lost to are all undefeated, and they've all looked really good with Bowles, Ed White, and Reigns. So
Wow.
Wow.
so
Not a throwaway game by any means.
Right. Plus, they're coming off history. I think it was the first time in 30 years that they've won a game scoring less than 10 points. So they're riding a historical trend coming out of last week. Caldwell, the wide receiver, he's fun. But they got some big linemen, as they always do, it seems, over at TCA. So that's going to be the thing to watch in the trenches. But I think it's going to be a good battle up there. Don't sleep on the Crusaders, just for the record.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a team that is in uncharted waters, man, you're going to do everything you can to get out. So this will be a good test for the Crusaders heading down to Death Valley Junior there in Lake City. So we'll see. Hey, I've been to a game down there in Lake
You
City.
say Death Valley Junior, they might not like that. I'm just saying.
I'm gonna be respectful. They
Ironically,
look like LSU.
that's Coach Spears. That's what he coined Jefferson County as being Death Valley. So there's quite a few Death Valleys now. But yeah, Columbia playing really good football. They got a big win earlier this season against Coffee. Tigers are looking like they're on a mission this year. I think it'll bode well for them. This is one of those seasons where it could come together for them. But they're getting Trinity Christian at the right time, especially getting them at home at the halfway point in the season. All right, this one we also got to talk about. Lincoln coming off the bye week, and of course the tough loss out at Nice, taking on Ware County, and this is a rematch from last year. But man, Ware County looks a lot different than they did a year ago, sitting at 4-0, and they get a Lincoln team that is, I would say just trying to figure out where their running game is a little bit. No passing game is there, but the running game absolutely non-existent against Nice in their last outing. And it was a tough road environment for Lincoln. That was arguably one of the bigger games that they had played this year. A huge crowd out there against Nice in really hostile environment, if you want to call it that. And this is a Ware County team that's just built a little bit different than last year. They've got the resume to prove it. I think Lincoln could potentially have their hands full again. But we'll see where the running game is, because if they can find a way to be able to get some chunks of yards on the ground, the passing attack is definitely there.
Yeah, I think the Trojans are gonna try to right the ship. Uh, Losing a game like they lost a week ago is very difficult, to swallow. If you're legitimate and you're a winning program, you hate to get beat like they got beat last week. Not last week, the week before last with at Nice, and coming in and it doesn't get any easier going into Ware County trying to take on an undefeated team. Man, the curse of being a successful program is that you don't get any easy games. It is every week you're playing a tough opponent. Nothing is easy. Every time you look up, you're playing a hard team. It's no fun, no easy, no cupcakes on your schedule because nobody wants to play.
Yeah, Ware
Yeah, for
County,
sure.
they've kind of dominated coffee a little bit earlier in the season, and then they went into Jacksonville and handled Bartram Trail pretty convincingly,
Oof.
21-14.
Yeah, defense stole the show last year for Lincoln. That 10-0 victory. They're gonna need him to come up big again. I like Franklin, that running back up there for Ware County. They got a solid line. But that team that takes a lot of pride in the defense, coming off a bye week, so I think this will be close. Might want to be one of those grinded out games this weekend.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I think
after that rough loss that Lincoln had a while back, I think the next thing is how do you respond? How do you bounce back from that? And this will be a good test for them, especially last season, a team that you beat, like you said, Andrew. What was it, 10-0, and now they're undefeated. And make no mistake, they too have not forgotten that loss as well. So this will be a good one.
yeah, I expect the SEC style type of game. Although Nice, credit to Lincoln for scheduling them. Nice, I don't think anybody saw them coming. I think they're USA Today ranked uh, going into this week. They are along the tail end, but they're definitely one of the top 25 teams in the state of Florida right now with the way that they are playing. So Lincoln took on one of the state's best, and you know, uh, those kind of games they can define you, but once again, this is going to be another tall order for the Trojans going across state lines into Georgia to take on an undefeated Ware County. Let's go ahead and jump into some other games in the area on the Week 5 slate. We've got Wakulla hosting DRS War Eagles, sitting at 1-2, hosting a winless FAMU High, and hopefully, it's one of those where you want FAMU High to kind of catch a break a little bit in the streak, but this one won't be an easy test as they go into Crawfordville. Wakulla looking to pull even to 500 at 2-2, but now sitting at 1-2, DRS winless on the year. Arnold taking on Bluntstown, and man, the Tigers are a juggernaut right now. This is going to be a very, very it could be a high scoring affair, but man, Arnold definitely trying to put their pieces together. But man, this is a tough draw for the Marlins. Bozeman hosting Sneeze. Bucks sitting at 2-2. Sneeze sitting at 2-1. Other area games, Swanee taking on Rutherford. I mean, not Rutherford. Hamilton County. Got to update that. And Swanee looking to get that first win, and Hamilton County really is no slouch. So this could be another dogfight for the Bulldogs, but for Swanee, they're trying to get that first win on the year. Jefferson County taking on Vernon, and for Coach Bugs, and out in Vernon, still sitting with no wins in the dub column, but Jefferson County and Coach Bright looking to add another one as they are 1-3 on the year. North Bay Haven taking on Weewa Hitchcock on Thursday night, and that one's going to be North Bay Haven has been pretty competitive in their games so far. Took a couple of losses early in the year, but this is a much improved team as they take on the Gators. Rickards going across state lines. They'll be taking on Colquitt County, and this one's going to be a tall order for the Raiders. Colquitt sitting at 3-1. Rickards 1-3 on the year. Moving on around the area, we got Taylor County undefeated Bulldogs taking on Destin, and man, for Taylor County, man, they're gonna look to keep the streak going against Destin. moving. Hopefully, they'll get a chance to improve to 5-0. Mosley heading across I-10 to take on Escambia out in Pensacola, and the Dolphins are very quietly, since that loss to Bay, have very quietly put their season back together. Uh, man, what can you say about the Dolphins' offensive attack? Man, Lamb looked like a superstar a couple of weeks ago. They've got a two tight end kind of spread going where uh, they just look like they can throw the ball to any one of those guys, and it's a scoring opportunity. But they'll be taking on Escambia, who does not. I think Escambia is 1-3. They might be 0-3. I need to double check that again. But for the Dolphins, they'll look to improve to 4-1. Yeah, we got a ton of games on the slate this week. NFC taking on Valwood at home. Both teams sitting at 2-2. Franklin County taking on Rocky Bayou. Rocky Bayou is winless on the year. Franklin County sitting at 3-1. Osceola hosting Beaconton Charter. Osceola looking to improve to 3-1. Lafayette taking on Zarapath Christian. Lafayette took that was an ugly loss to Chiefland last week, and they'll be looking to bounce back this week. Hornets really, man, that was what Chiefland's one of those teams where you're not really sure until they just up everybody. But man, for Lafayette, that was a tough loss, and they'll look to bounce back this week. Already had a chance to talk about Columbia and Trinity Christian. Cottondale taking on Lighthouse Christian. Hornets can improve to 2-2 on the year as they take on a 2-2 Lighthouse Christian team. Walton hosting Fort Walton Beach. Battle of Walton County out there as the Braves are sitting at 2-1 against winless Fort Walton Beach. Rutherford taking on Baker. Another tough road contest for the Rams. And Rutherford really looking to get that first dub on the year. Gadsden County hitting the road, taking on Clearwater Central. The Crusaders are undefeated, and Gadsden County still looking for that first win on the year. That's going to be a tough matchup for the Jaguars. Mariana taking on W.S. Neal out of Alabama. Don't look now, but the Bulldogs snatched the win last week, looking to grab another one. Hopefully they'll get a chance to improve to 2-2. Chipley undefeated taking on Jay, and I've got my eyes on this one out in the Panhandle. This is going to be an entertaining ball game. And then Holmes County on the road at Northview. And that will do it for the week number 5 slate. And man, we got a ton of games around the area. I think this is probably the most we've had since the season opened up. That's gonna do it for the Extra Point this week. And man, we got some surprises in the air. We'll see who can remain undefeated. But if you get an opportunity, please take in one of these games. I think this is the most we're gonna have in quite a bit. How many teams on the bye? Like what, 2 or 3? I think we only got 2 or 3 teams on the bye.
Yes, I think it's only 3.
So, appreciate everybody hanging out with us on the Extra Point podcast. That will do it for my tag team partners, Coach Cofield, Andrew Jupe, and Eddie Quinkers Jr., my squad. This is 4 Quarters Online, the Extra Point. We'll catch everybody next Wednesday, or you can catch us on Friday nights for the 4Q scoreboard show wrap-up as we catch all the games as they're just ending and try to give our best recap. But this is the Extra Point. We'll catch everybody next week.